Vous me passez le pad là, avec juste le fil. Déconnecte juste des branches et prends le voilà. So we're going to continue our Limud in the Talmud Yerushalmi about the Avoda Zarah. On va continuer notre Limud, le Talmud Yerushalmi, sur la Masechet Avoda Zarah. So, who remember, just to up the limud of the previous week. I know it's every week, so sometimes we forget, but just to settle the things. Or remember what was the topic of last week. Qui se souvient quel était le point de la semaine dernière? Quel Rabbi Shai?
We are in Alafa Dalet. We are talking about the Keli, which is the. So we are talking about the Keli, the specific name that they use at the time to receive the wine. It's how you say it? KanKan. And the topic was that in order to this Keli to be kosher, it has to be new and fulfilled with some, I forget the name, but something inside. And if a non-Jewish did it without a Jew looking at him, this Keli is not kosher. Mm-hmm. And we talk about the subject of the importance of the wine that kosher, but also the bottle mm-hmm. that is kosher. And we have discussion about me. I'm sure we say that even though it's the non-Jewish, even though there is a Jews that survey the process of it's not kosher. And KanKan said if there's someone who surveys,
pitched. So, Mary explained it. Il a expliqué que on a vu la semaine dernière, j'ai encore la cavote. He said that, il dit qu'on a vu donc on est dans la halakha numéro 4. Mais dans le Talmud Yerushalmi, le Talmud Yerushalmi de halachot ve'akov mishnayot. C'est Mishnah number 4. On a vu la nécessité d'avoir des ustensiles kosher. We saw how important it is to have kosher vessels. Most of the time, we put pressure on, we want kosher wine. But we forget about pushing pressure also about is the vessel kosher. Et on a le but de mettre la pression pour savoir aussi est-ce que l'ustensile est kosher. So, based on that,
and we said that to drink wine now, that's why he said Mizmala David. Mm-hmm. And that's what we said this week. We're going to what the idea of the Mizmala David, how it is a Shmirah.
Yeah, it was the conclusion, the final conclusion was, la conclusion finale c'était, le Mizmor David qu'on fait avant de boire le vin, the Mizmor David we do before drinking wine, help us to build the vessel, to make it kosher, according to that Mishnah. Ça nous aide à construire l'ustensile de manière cachère. Why? Because first of all, the vessel you use went to the mikveh. Well, it's like a mikveh, il est déjà un peu protégé. First of all, the vessel you use went to the mikveh, so if you went to the mikveh, it's a little bit protected. But we know that when we speak, we create vapors. Parce que quand on parle, on crée de la vapeur. And that vapors, the sage call it or makif. Et dans la Torah de nos maîtres, ce qui sort de notre bouche s'appelle une lumière encerclante, or makif. So this is mouth. From the mouth comes out the or makif. Donc ça c'est la bouche. À partir de la bouche vient on va dire la lumière encerclante. Let's say I have my bottle. On va dire j'ai ma bouteille. And the Gemara said it has to be pinched. La Gemara dit elle doit être enduite à l'intérieur. Right? Like this. Je dois la protéger, je dois l'enduire. OK. Most of the time, we always think that makif is something which has to be always external. Do you agree? Souvent, on pense que le makif, il doit toujours être extérieur. Vous êtes d'accord?
Non. Je veux dire, il y a, tu vois, tu peux avoir, même dans la lumière qui est dans le cli, tu as la lumière Chitsoni et puis la lumière intérieure.
Bien fait. Rabbi Akiva said no, because even in the inner light, you have the inner of inner and the external of inner. So same thing with the external light, meaning the keli have the black one is the external of external. Donc la partie noire ici, c'est l'extériorité de l'extériorité. The external of external. So what will be the red? The inner of external. Ça sera quoi? Le rouge, c'est l'intériorité, the inner of external, l'intériorité de l'extérieur. So meaning, me saying, Miss Marley David, before drinking my wine, what I'm doing, I'm really creating that inner aspect. Je crée vraiment ça. C'est pour ça que le contenu du texte, la signification du texte, il parle de danger, il parle de peur, il parle de l'ombre de la mort, il parle de protège-moi. Quoi, je vais manger, pourquoi tu me dis des phrases comme ça? Mets-moi un télim où je dis ah merci, tu remplis ma table de mets succulents, je vais me régaler, toda, toda. So why you bring to me to say mismo, talking about fear, shadow of death, and you will be with me, fighting me when I'm just about to drink something. Say something like, no, thank you for the amazing table and the very appetizer and what I will enjoy, fulfill my stomach. Say something like that. No, because the purpose is to create that. Right. So now let's try to move forward and to understand what's happened. But before that, something that Rabbi Ishai forget, they tried, it's good. He said, it's like this. We said that the Mishnah starts about two kinds of vessels. Et une chose qu'il a oublié, Rabbi Ishai, dans son explication, c'est qu'on a vu que la Mishnah commence avec deux types d'ustensiles. There is the vessel, the bottle that you can carry with you. Il y a des ustensiles, des bouteilles que tu peux amener vers toi, qu'on appelle les nodot. They are called the nodot. What is the nodot? We say tikkun kain, nav and nad. It's like you move. So this is the bottle you carry in your pocket when you want to drink your rum. Put it. This is the nodot. So last week we saw the secret of nodot. We're going to read a little bit today, and we will see the second level of vessels, which is called KanKan. KanKanim. KanKanim. This is the purpose of today, but let's see what's happened. Abishai, donc, 7 sur 10. Okay. So, Rabbi Elnatan Hanan, can you please start to read? I share your video screen. Yes.
Is it the camera? Side MRI?
1 second. It's exactly where you put your mark. It's
Okay.
the goal.
The camera side in MRI truly. Rabbi Yaakov Bar Acha said in the name of the rabbis, if one had wine that is prohibited for drinking but permitted for benefit, and then he placed the wine In earthenware jugs, the earthenware jugs are treated as wine. Thus, kosher wine is placed in the jug after it is emptied. Of the non-kosher wine is rendered forbidden. If he then emptied the earthenware jug of the hitherto kosher wine and they placed inside it other kosher wine, that is second kosher wine, the wine is treated as jugs. If he then emptied the earthenware jug of the second hitherto kosher wine and they place it inside other wine, that is third kosher wine, the third kosher wine is prohibited for drinking. And the earthenware jugs are rendered permitted.
What do you understand? I have to
go back. This is very serious.
Abisha, what do you understand?
I tried to follow.
Abisha,
Cut. 3 jugs. We have a jug and it's not kosher. But if I fill it 3 times, now anything I put in afterwards will be kosher. But all the 3 wines that I filled with it are not kosher.
you go too fast.
We
Slowly,
have a jug.
slowly.
We have a jug. It's cod. Yeah, it's cod.
That is a joke. C'est quoi un joke? C'est des jars. Jug, c'est des jars. So let's go slowly. What is earth and water? Where? Earthenware.
Klicheres.
Those are jars who are close to the ground.
Now you have to remember the previous Gemara. What is the earthenware?
Anyway, it's something. It's not something that was made out of clay. Huh?
So
No?
it's saying Rabbi Pinchas. Doesn't matter. It's different to what we said about the nadot. Because here the nadot can affect the wine. So if it's not, if so it means that if it's before we said if it was not toveled, the wine inside will not be kosher. But
Before we go to the drash, just want we be sure about the terms. What is earthenware jug?
made of clay. It's a
Goof.
Nathan, go back in your Gemara. What are the 3 types of wine that we are not obliged to cover? Well, it's a few pages behind.
sweet wine.
I need the term in Hebrew.
Rebbe, isn't an earthenware jug?
There is Mebushal.
What did you say, Rabbi Zechariah?
Isn't an earthenware jug, if it's something that makes contact with something that's non-kosher on the outside, it doesn't render it unkosher, the inner contents?
I agree with you. But I just want to know to understand first of all, what is that jug? What kind of jug is it?
But it absorbs the liquid.
Yeah,
So there's like erosion of whatever was in there previously.
I agree.
And so now when I put something new in it, it's going to take the non-kosher aspect of the previous one.
It's Adriatic wine,
Ah,
bitter wine.
so what is Adriatic one? What the name?
Adriatic wine, it's river wine.
No, what is the name in Hebrew? Give me all the name in Hebrew.
Okay.
The names for
Where?
Kli Acheres.
No, we get it. I want to
Okay.
go somewhere else. What were the 3 types of wine that we are not obliged to cover? Matok, it's from the Torah. What do you say? Yes or no? So it's look at the previous Mishnah, Mishnah 3. So read in English, please. אלו הדברים שאנוכי אסורים ואיסורים. Mishnah 3, the beginning, Mishnah. Mishnah 3.
Yeah.
You have the title. You see title Mishnah 3, you read.
Yeah. Oh, should I read it?
Yeah.
Okay. These items of idolaters are prohibited. And their prohibition is a prohibition of benefit. The wine and the vinegar of idolaters, that was wine, when it initially entered their possession. Adrianic earthenware, that is, earthenware impregnated with Nesek wine.
Ah, that is what? Adrianic what? Show me what is written.
Adrianic.
So what is Adrianic earthenware?
Adrianic earthenware says Adrianic earthenware refers to earthenware containing extract of wine. Containing extract of wine, which would be released through soaking in water.
Abishai was right. Abishai also was right. What I needed to keep in mind is that the term is the same from the first Mishnah. So when I'm dealing with the drugs here, it's talking about what was in before. Right? So now go back to your Mishnah. So now read, so go back to where you started, Mara.
The Gemara cites an Amoraic ruling.
Now, so do you understand what we have just read?
Whether I understand?
What you have read before. Do you get it?
Yeah, it still speaks about what Rabbi Yaakov Acha said in the name of the rabbis.
So what is the statement? What is about the jugs? What do you understand about the jugs?
If one had wine that is prohibited for drinking, meaning,
yeah. Okay.
Meaning these 3 types of wine.
Yeah, okay.
And here it says, but permitted for benefit. But permitted
the
for
3 wine we have here, they are permitted for drinking.
No, they are forbidden.
Mishnah 3, the 3 types of wine, they are permitted for drinking. That's why we talk about covering them or not in the Mishnah 3.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are. According
Rabbi.
to here, in the name of the rabbi, it speaks about that in the says in the name of rabbi, if one if one had wine that is prohibited for drinking.
Which is not the case of the previous one he quoted in the Mishnah 3. Because the Mishnah 3, the three type of wine, you have the right to drink them. And you just don't need to cover them if they stand uncovered. With the Mishnah 3.
Mm-hmm.
You get it?
Mm-hmm.
So now what's happening with in the Mishnah 4? Go, continue. Explain what you have said, what you have read.
It says here, and he placed wine in earthenware jugs. The earthenware jugs are treated as wine.
So what does it mean? C'est-à-dire quoi? Que si tu prends du vin pas cachère, tu mets dans des jarres interdites, la jarre, elle devient comme du vin.
Tu peux pas la boire, mais tu peux en faire du bénéfice.
C'est ce qu'il semble dire. Vous avez bien entendu, you get it? Vous avez compris? Do you understand on internet? Rabbi Elazar, you had a question.
Yes, I was asking, what was the wines again? These are the covered wines or the uncovered wines that we're talking about?
In this actual Mishnah, we're talking about wine that you are not allowed to drink. But that first term of earthenware appears from the Mishnah 3. In the case of Adriatic waters, you can drink them, but you don't need to cover them because they are not real wine. Like wine which are like conditor or like which are bitter. But he is saying, if I take unkosher wine, I put them in earthenware jugs, the earthenware become like wine. You get Rabbi Elazar Hanan?
Yeah.
So explain to me, what do you understand?
I'm going back to what is the explanation about the Adriatic.
Now, leave it. It was just about giving you a hint about the Mishnah 3. But I want you to explain to me what you have understood there.
Here it says, if one had wine that is permitted for drinking, but permitted for benefit.
Permitted for drink or forbidden for drink?
No, we said for drinking, but permitted for benefit.
So forbidden for drinking.
Yes.
You said permitted.
Huh?
You have said permitted for drinking. I'm correcting you.
Oh, did I? Okay.
Yeah, one more time.
If one had wine that is prohibited for drinking, but permitted for benefit, and he placed the wine in an earthen jar. The earthenware jug are treated as wine.
So it's clear. You get it, right?
Yes. The earthenware jugs are treated as wine.
Ça veut dire quoi? Que la jarre, elle est considérée comme le vin. Why?
Why would the earthen jugs be treated as wine?
He told you how to be a shell.
Why would they be treated as wine?
They absorb wine. And so now anything I put in there afterwards, even though the jug looks empty, it's as if I just poured kosher wine into non-kosher wine. Right? That would make all kosher wine not kosher. The jug itself, it's treated like the wine that it has absorbed. Whether that wine is kosher or not kosher.
Okay. Now I got it.
It's like the dishes. It's like the dishes.
It's because it absorbs the previous. In other words, it
And what you read,
the content that was there has left its flavor.
and how long does that last? How many times does it last? Right, so I have a jug that's wine that's treated like non-kosher wine. I I fill it with
Okay,
wine,
not
non-kosher wine, empty it, fill it with wine, it's non-kosher wine.
Okay.
Fill, a third time, it's non-kosher wine. The fourth time I would fill it, the wine would stay kosher.
You get it now?
Yes.
I knew that you didn't get it. Well, I want to find time in the review.
Yes.
The question is simple. I drink, let's say, on va essayer de comprendre ce qu'il dit ici. Pourquoi c'est important? Là, on est en train de faire ici. What we are doing here? Let's say my body, mon corps, is it like jugs or not? Mon corps est comme une jarre, oui ou non? Oui, you can say yes. Now I put inside not kosher wine. Je mets à l'intérieur du vin pas kasher. What's happening with my body? Très fort. That's why I'm doing crazy things. Ça fait des choses incroyables.
It's obvious.
Yes.
It's obvious. Because this is what we do every day. Because if you place, I mean, if, like for example here, if well, it's electric. But if I place a basar, well, I can no longer, I mean, I cannot eat basar because, well, this was containing the traces of milk.
It's a good question. Abel Nathan, he just raised up a very good question. It's une bonne question. It's not a question, but it's a question. Like this. The wine, is it hot or is it cold? Le vin, il est chaud ou il est froid?
In the beginning, it's first the original will be hot.
Oh, okay.
Because because once it's it's not like today we have barrels. When they made the wine, they put the store, they put in the jugs.
I understand. But my question is for you, is it hot or is it cold?
The first one is hot.
Hot? Okay. They said it's hot. What is the halacha about you putting some basari in your cup?
Says the cold thing does not absorb.
So I don't understand. The wine is hot, you think? The wine is not hot. It can be a temperature which will be like the atmosphere, let's say. But if it's hot, it should be like I put my finger. It's not hot. So how come the Gemara tells you, you know what? That jug.
But if it's not hot, how can it absorb?
Toda.
You've never watered, if you water a terracotta pot, you know, the tan pots, the color of timberlands, it gets darker. The water, it's porous material. It's not like this. This has a glaze on it. What they're talking about is a pot that like it absorbs. And if you broke it and swallowed it, you get liquid left, even though it was empty. The walls of it absorb liquid. Not
Exactly.
like this. Not like
so
this.
Now you understand the lacha. Why I said the question of Rabbi Natan. He said, if I put basari in that cup, Chas Shalom. Halacha said, no, it wasn't hot. There's no problem. Wash it and it's okay. But with that earthenware jugs, it's not like this. It's like this. Let's say. Even this, we have some something. Let's say it's more. You see how it's broken here? It's more like this.
Show the bottom.
Yes, you see? Not like this. Put water, even cold, fixed, cold liquid here. You see the difference here? It's shining. Voilà, ça brille. It's covered. But put directly on this, even something very cold, it will be swallowed. Ça va être absorbé. So mainly when we talk about temperature here, because here, to give access to the swallowing process, I need something hot. We're gonna go over the cover, or sharp. But this, normally is enough.
My cousin has a winery, and the original, they didn't have, what we learned before, we learned that originally, what they do is they have a cook it, the wine, and there's a big thing, and then they put in the grades cold.
Because it's a factory.
Yeah.
It's not the one
Yeah,
we
yeah,
do.
So
Don't cook the white.
they
If you
don't-
cook it become mevusha.
So you can go about the process of cooking it or making it cold.
Yeah, it's no
Okay.
more. Carabina, continue.
This is tricky again. Okay.
The Gemara asks. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
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 okay.
yeah. I'm moving fast today. Wake up.
The Gemara asks,
Yes.
why was this ruling stated in the context of earthenware jugs that had originally been used to hold wine that is prohibited for drinking, but permitted for benefit, and then not in the context of earthenware jugs that had been originally contained full-fledged Nesek wine that was prohibited for both drinking and the benefit.
What? What did you do yesterday? If you were in Morocco, I will ask the elder of the city to come to beat you. 100 makat.
Wow.
Like this, you're gonna be released.
My question is on the previous halakha.
Yes.
It speaks about the first and the second, but when it comes to the third, it's prohibited.
Mm-hmm.
But not when I look at this, unless I read it wrongly, nothing has been changed.
Mm-hmm.
The first one, the first one was emptied. The second one placed there, it was emptied again. The third one was placed there.
So what disturbs you?
What disturbs me is what made the second wine and then the third one, particularly the third one, what it made it to be prohibited if the second was permitted.
To drink or to profit?
To profit.
The first question, they all permitted to profit.
Yes.
But only after you empty it a few times, 3 times.
Yes.
If the wine is the wine still.
Comprenez la question qu'il pose?
And the jar becomes permitted.
The fourth filling.
The fourth filling, but the
drink
wine still
you can
forbidden.
You can sell it to goyim though the
Yes.
entire time.
Exactly. But the jar become permitted after the third time, not the wine.
There's two nakudas. Can I drink it or can I sell it to goy?
Yes, but the question.
You want to help? You want something to help you?
Yes.
If this Mishnah wasn't written, you and me could not be able to convert. Si ce n'était pas écrit comme ça, nous tous, on ne pourrait pas se convertir. How many, how do you say pig?
Yeah. Pig.
How many pork do you have eaten in your life? How many unkosher animals? How many unkosher wine have you drink? How many this, how many this? Your soul is kosher, right? And that's your body. So you are the jugs. Your body is the jugs. So now let's see. Is it able to take you and to have profit? So this profit is not about making money. C'est quoi le profit? C'est pas faire de l'argent. It's to bring it to the next level of being a Yehudi to do that.
So why is it 3 important? Why do we say that? Why is the third time?
Because the fourth time, it's like you have 4 Gilgulim to come into the Jewish people. The first time, you just married that Jews from the Shalom, had kids, you run away. The second time, you don't marry it, you stay in your life, you have family, non-Jew family, you start the process, but tired, you say, no, I will not do. The 5th time, you do everything perfect, but you fight with that rabbi, he don't want to convert you, you say, you know what, leave the Judaism. 1st time is done, you cannot save your body. It's the Gilgulim, but this is secret, we cannot see it at the end. So move forward, on avance. C'est en rapport avec le fait qu'on puisse se convertir même si on a consommé des aliments, des choses qui ne sont pas cachères, ça n'endommage pas notre corps. On peut toujours tirer profit de nous. On peut servir à la Torah. Because the proof is, before 20 years, I was eating unkosher food. Avant 20 ans, je faisais des trucs pas cachers. How come now I can put my tefillin on? How come that I can go in the mikveh, I put my tzitzit on, I can do the mitzvot? Thanks to this Mishnah. Grâce à cette Mishnah.
So what is the wine?
Slowly. We can.
Yeah, let's but for you to come, but for I'll understand the what we said before about the nedidot, because nedidot, what you do is you have the layer within. So the layer within makes everything pure, because when you convert, you go through a process. Here, you're not going.
Not always.
You go to the mikvah.
Yes, but everybody go to the mikveh. It's not called process. Not always. You have babies that have been adopted at 1 year old, and they are in the church of Judaism. They wait bar mitzvah. You want to say, okay, enter. Which process do you see? No process. It's not like this man who have to wait 3 years. He was born a Jew, adopted by a Jewish family. He grew up as a Jew, bar mitzvah, rabbi. Okay, shalom. Okay, go mikveh. Which process do you see? No process. Ken, he's eating, don't worry, he's eating. It was so good though. I cut the guy.
The camera answers.
Yes, the camera answers.
The ruling was not stated with regard to earthenware jars that had originally contained full-fledged Neshech wine. Because Rabbi Meir says in our Mishnah, 12 Aleph, that kosher wine placed in earthenware jug of idolaters is prohibited for drinking and for benefit.
It means order.
No escape here.
So here you cannot make even the jug the wine cannot be sell and cannot be.
Keep in mind, Rabbi Meir, right?
Yes.
It was a
The convert always out with the other converts. Keep Rabbi Meir. We're gonna see it in the explanation. Here we just get information. Regardez Rabbi Meir, on va voir ce qu'il veut dire, what you want to say. Ken Rabbi, elle continue.
The Gemara relates.
Juste Rabbi Meir, il est plus dur. Il dit, à partir du moment où il y a du vin pas caché qui a été mis dans des jarres, il fait, c'est fini. Tu ne peux ni tirer profit de ce vin, ni le vendre, ni le boire.
Il parle qui ont été mis dans des jarres d'idolâtres. C'est pour ça qu'il n'est pas permis à bénéficier aussi. Donc c'est la jarre là, le problème. C'est pas le.
Okay, on va relate.
Rabbi Bo said, when Rabbi Akiva went to Tziporim,
Oh, Rabbi Akiva went to Tziporim.
the townspeople came and inquired of him. Oh.
This is for you. In 20 minutes, we'll have everything.
I learned this like a month ago.
Yes.
How are pitch-lined earthenware jugs of idolatry purified?
Ah, you see? Donc là, des gens de Tziporim vont demander à Rabbi Akiva, comment en fait des jarres qui sont enduits peuvent être purifiés? Okay.
Basically, he asked, how can someone
Purify.
Yeah, but also, like you said, the jar can be the body. what is the difference between, because if the first wine was not kosher, meaning it's like a soul with kosher inside of the body was not kosher, but now it's the soul and the body are not kosher.
It's a Rabbi Meir's answer. Yeah.
Would the peeling of the peach lining render them purified or not?
Amar, yes, later.
Later, when relating his response, Rabbi Akiva said, I taught them, the Lord, in this case, with this following argument. Now, if even when they are not lined with pitch, you say that they are permitted as long as there are no wine stains on them.
Okay, continue.
When they are lined with pitch, and the pitch lining was subsequently peeled off by the Jewish purchaser, is it not certain? Is it not certain that they are permitted?
But when
I came to my colleagues, they said to me that the clay walls of the pitch-lined jug absorb through the pitch lining.
You understand? Let's not try to understand what is the sort of this, but do you get the text? Vous avez compris le texte, the situation. Donc, il dit quoi? Il dit, voici la réponse qu'il aura fait. Il dit, si jamais vous avez eu une jarre qu'elle a été enduite, donc, en fait, une jarre qui n'a pas été encore enduite et qui n'a jamais contenu quoi que ce soit, c'est permis. Il n'y a aucun problème. Ouais. Tant qu'on ne trouve pas de tâche. Il fait maintenant, qu'est-ce qui se passe? Quand on a le cas de la jarre qui a été lining with pitch, c'est-à-dire qu'elle a été enduite. Et que l'enduit, elle a été faite. L'enduit a été faite, mais le juif, il a enlevé l'enduit. Donc, en fait, il y avait un enduit qui était là, et le juif, il enlève l'enduit. C'est pas sûr que ce soit permis d'utiliser le jar. Après, il dit, il a parlé aux autres rabbins. Il leur dit quoi? Il dit, si jamais l'argile, the clay walls of the pinch line jugs absorb through the... Il fait, c'est pas si sûr parce que il semblerait qu'en fait, que l'enduit réellement empêche l'argile d'absorber. Ça, c'était... Le Rabbi Akiva dit non, ça ne va pas être permis parce que, bon, il y a un point. Il fait non. L'enduit joue un vrai rôle. Il joue un vrai rôle d'isolation. OK, the Gemara returns.
Gemara returns to its citation of the Baraita. The Baraita stated that old earthenware jugs of idolaters are forbidden even if they are not lined with pitch. Even if they are not lined with pitch.
Ok, donc c'est dit, même si elles sont interdites, même si elles n'ont pas eu d'enduit, parce qu'apparemment, comme tu dis, là le plus important c'est bon courage. Il dit que là en fait, ce qui se passe, c'est que si elles n'ont pas été enduites et qu'on ne voit pas de taches, Rabbi Akiva dit qu'on pourrait inférer qu'elles elles sont pures, parce que personne n'a mis du vin dedans. Mais s'il y a eu un enduit, on ne peut pas savoir. Donc il dit c'est même mieux qu'elle n'ait pas d'enduit, mais qu'on voit. Ok.
Okay. If the directors.
The writer continues. If the idolater fills this old earthenware jugs with water, the Jew spills out the idolater's water, or spills, sorry. The Jew spills out the idolater's water and fills the jug with other water to complete the process of rendering the jug permitted for use. And he then may place wine in the jar and need not be concerned if the idolater filled the jar with fish brine of Murias
or
Murias.
That is Morias. Moria is a dip made from the fatty inner of fish. Mm-hmm. In the case prior to selling the jugs to the Jew, the idolater fills his jugs which has been used for wine with fish brines or Morias. Donc c'est la graisse de poisson. Okay. Yeah.
The Jew may pour out the liquid and place wine in the jugs. If the idolater filled the jugs with the wine until he sold the jar to a Jew, the Jew fills them with fish brine or Marias, and he then may place wine in the jug, and the need not be concerned.
No matter who fulfilled the jar with fish brine, it renders the jar proper to put kosher in it.
Yeah. Last part after we crack it, then on prend le truc. Donc il dit quoi? Il dit toute la considération de qu'est-ce qui va être rempli dans la jarre. Tout dépend en fait de qui fait quoi en premier, le juif ou l'idolâtre. Que ce soit l'eau, que ce soit la graisse de poisson. Je ne vais pas encore expliquer parce que je veux arriver jusqu'au bout. Après, on va expliquer. Vas-y. Yes. The Gemara relates.
The Gemara relates. Rabbi Yochanan went out to the garden of Rabbi Yehuda Nesia in Akko. People came and inquired of him, how are pitch-lined ethnic jugs of idolater purified? Later, when relating his response, Rabbi Yochanan said, I taught them the law. In this case, with this following argument. Now, if is taught in a four-sided baraita, even when the idolater filled the jar with fish brine or Marias, the Jew must place wine in the jar. Then is it not certain that the jug is permitted in this case?
Okay, so we stop here. Donc, we stop here. Now we have to understand all the story. On va essayer de comprendre toute cette histoire. It's important always to read all the Gemara, to move forward in the text, to understand what are the questions, the argue, the challenge. And after we're going to use our text to understand what is not said behind. Donc nous, on a toujours besoin de prendre l'information. C'est pour ça qu'il faut avoir cette patience-là de lire le texte. You have to be patient to read all the text, to understand what is in question, ce qui est en question. Mais repartons de notre logique. Depuis en fait 20 minutes, on est en train de voir quoi? La notion de jar. So for maybe for now, we're seeing what? The aspect of jug. So now what's happened? We saw last week that you have two kinds of vessels when it comes about containing liquid wine. On a vu qu'on a deux types de contenants quand il s'agit de prendre du vin. On a ceux qu'on appelle les nodotes. Les nodotes, on a vu la semaine dernière. C'est tout un tikkun qui est lié à Caïn. It's the tikkun that's connected to Cain because the nod, benad, is moving with you. So all the logical behind the nod, what kind of wine, how we should make it kosher, it was totally different about the jug, which is the KanKan. Donc on voit en fait la logique de cachérisation de l'ustensile qu'on transporte. Elle était beaucoup plus simple que l'ustensile qui est mobile, qui est immobile. We saw the story different. When we talk about how we fulfill the nodot, it was tic-tac. You say, take some pinch, make it done. C'est très simple. On a vu que pour vraiment enduire un ustensile qui est transportable, c'était facile. Tu prenais de l'enduit, tu mettais, c'était réglé. Now we're in another case. On est sur un autre cas. On parle d'un ustensile qui ne bouge pas, KanKan. Of course, you make it move, but the place, no one will see you walking with your jug in the street like this. Pas confortable. Personne ne te verra marcher avec ta jarre dans la rue. Ta jarre, c'est pour la maison, elle est posée sur la table. Tu remplis dedans le vin et tu sers les gens de la jarre. Your jug is for the house. It's at home. It's on the table. You fulfill it with wine and you serve people. So this is the two kind of vessels. So now let's see why in that case, everything seems to be harder. On va voir pourquoi dans ce cas-là, tout semble être plus compliqué. The KanKan. Not the nodot, the KanKan. So let's see. For this, we need Shar Ma'amare Razal. Pour ça, on a besoin du livre qui s'appelle Shar Ma'amare Razal, one of the Kidvari. And the Kidvari. It's with Shar Ma'amare Rajul.
Shar Shlishi. Shar Mamirat is Shar Sheni. And in Chazal, it's Shlishi, Neged Kushan. Even Kushan.
Find it. What is this? Un livre? Okay, perfect. Did you receive my picture? Vous avez reçu mon picture? Mon dessin, pardon. La photo. To understand what is behind all this story, pour understand tout ce qu'il y a derrière cette histoire, on doit comprendre ce qu'il dit Rabbi Meir. But to understand what Rabbi Meir was saying in our Gemara. In our Gemara, it was very hard about the way you use the KanKan. Dans la Gemara, là, qu'on vient de voir, Rabbi Meir, il est très, très strict sur la dimension du KanKan. So, Daf Ayin Gimel. Daf Ayin Gimel. Il say like this, il dit comme ça. Rabbi Meir, donc c'est dans les Pirkei Avot, c'est dans les Pirkei Avot. Dans les éthiques des pères, on va comprendre cette histoire-là, on va creuser. Rabbi Meir Omer, Al tistakel bekankan ela bema sheyesh bo. Rabbi Meir dit, ne regarde pas la jarre, mais regarde ce qu'il y a dedans. Don't look at the jugs, but check what is inside. Rabbi Meir, what are you saying?
C'est ce que tu veux dire. Pas le corps de la personne.
The KanKan. Look what is in the KanKan. So what is the secret of KanKan? Why for the KanKan, the way to make it kosher tea, we have to call Rabbi Akiva to ask him. So How do we do regarding if I want to make kosher this jug? Comment je fais pour rendre kosher? On appelle la directive, c'est une question très compliquée. C'est pas comme nodot. KanKan is different. So look what he said, and we will understand why it's very complicated to deal with that kind of things when you want to serve your wine. On va voir pourquoi c'est compliqué d'avoir des jarres, des vrais jarres, quand il s'agit réellement de l'argile et qui sont enduits, par enduits, désenduits, re-enduits. Par exemple, ce qu'il y a derrière. C'est like this. C'est là, tu dois savoir. Qui bet mine KanKan yesh. We have two kind of KanKan. Donc, on a deux sortes de jarres. We have two kind of jugs. M. Aleph, Be'ima. So the first KanKan, la première jarre, the first jug is in Ima. And the second one is in Zarah. Ça veut dire quoi? Il dit la notion de KanKan, la notion de jar, the aspect of jug, you find it where? Or in the first hay, or in the vav. Tu le trouves soit dans le hay, soit dans le vav. And he said, Ve'leshnem el'u kara'a a-mishnah belashon achat. So the Mishnah is talking about both of them. Mishnah parle de deux. Ki em shnei pa'amim kan. It's not like you have one KanKan in Ima and one KanKan in Zarah. So no, you have one kan in Ima and one kan in Zarah. That's why we have KanKan. So what is the aspect of jug? C'est quoi la dimension de la jarre? Il n'est pas lui tout seul. C'est la parfaite jonction de deux spiritualités. Celle de Ima, le premier et celle de Zarah. C'est pour ça que ça devient très compliqué. So what is the jug? It's not the jug, it exists by himself. The jug is the incarnation of two spiritualities, two dimensions. One from Ima, the first A, and one from Zarah, the Vav. That's why it's harder when it comes about how to make kosher, because I'm dealing with something which is actually two things. So when you see KanKan, don't say, it's jug. That's why sometimes translating, you lose everything. Ça, des fois, en traduisant, tu perds tout. Quand tu vois KanKan, tu traduis, c'est la jarre. Non, on ne parle pas de jarre. On parle de deux choses. Un kan et deux kan. Ça fait KanKan. So he said, il dit comme ça. Je t'ai pas même kan. Ve nevaer inyan kan elyon shel ima. So say, let's see what is the first kan. Donc, on commence. We're going to see. On va voir. C'est quoi le premier kan? C'est like this. On dit comme ça. Pour le premier kan, c'est dans Ima, c'est dans le He. C'est dans la Bina. The first kan is in the Ima, is in the Bina. Be'inyan, ki elu she Abba ve'ima'a shavim bekomatam, az yesh le'ima tet sfirot. Ve'kol achad klula כל אחד כלולה ממה כאן נזכר? ממה? I think you want to say that inside you have 10 sfirot. How you build it? Wow, let's see. C'est כל אחד כלולה ממה כאן נזכר. הרי שעה ריבועו בהתפשטותו בהון מן האריך. אך שאמא יורדת למטה בסוד כי יקרא כנסת כנזכר לעיל, אז הנה אין לה שיעור קומעה רק בחצי תפארת ונצר עוד של אבא כנזכר לעיל. והנה, בצרות יסוד, ג' פעמים, מ"א, שמה? הרי הם קק"ג, ונשאר חצי תפארת, וידעת כי לעולם הנקבה תחילה, בתחילת בית שליש הגוף, שהוא החזה, נמצא שיש לה חלק בתפארת דאבא, בבית שלישים שבו, והנה בית שלישים, מ"א, הם ככף זין, וכק"ג הרי הם כאן. So what he said? Said that the first can connected to Ima, le premier can qui est relié à Ima, is here to talk about two different situations. At the beginning, he's bringing something very strange. Rabbi Meir. Il y a une situation que Rabbi Meir explique ici qui est très compliquée. We always know that Abba and Ima they are always in Yichud, right? It's a secret. On sait que Abba and Ima, le UK, they are always in Yichud. What is that Yichud? It means that they are the same size face to face. C'est quoi cette union? Ils sont même taille face à face. He said, yes, but no. It's not always the case. Sometimes Ima have to go down to fulfill that. So when she goes down, she's not of the size of Abba, so it's different.
Ima have to go down? Are we speaking about Zion?
Mais dans Ima, là.
Dans Ima, des fois aussi, il y a une aspect d'Ima qui est...
C'est ce qu'il dit, that's what he said. So when Ima, she's the size of Abba, she possesses 9 sfirot. But sometimes she has to go down. When she goes down, she possesses Neta or Yesod plus the one part of Tiferet. It shouldn't disturb you. Ça ne doit pas vous perturber. Why? Because we know that we have Ima and Vuna. Even if we are talking about Vuna acting, actually it's Ima. It's like the second part of your body. You cannot say, oh, my legs are acting and my upper part is doing something else. Je ne peux pas dire mes jambes travaillent, mon partie haut, c'est autre chose. So c'est based on that. If you consider that Ima, when she's connected to Za, when the He connects to the Vav, she is not at the normal size to be with Abba. He said, you know that situation? This creates the first can. How? By counting the Sphirot and the quantity of Sphirot connected to the 4 Sphirot that you will be related to. Comment on va trouver le can 150? C'est en regardant le nombre de Sphirot qui vont être en situation ici à partir du moment où Ima elle descend. So what is basically can? I make it simple, je fais ça simplement maintenant. The can of Ima, it's when you receive your mochi. Le can de Ima, c'est quand Ima descend pour donner les mochi naza. When Ima have to go down to give brain to Za, to be a man and to act, it's the first can. C'est le premier can. Got it? נמצא שאתה אין לה מין שעה ריבועו, רק כאן ריבועו בלבד, וזה סוד כי יקרא כאן ציפור. So it's a secret. What is the כאן ציפור? It's really Ima when she leaves a role of being the wife of Abba and she becomes the provider of the wisdom and the intelligence and the reason for Zah.
We see that Ima take out of the role of Leah in a way, and she take the role of Rachel a little bit, and she
Actually, they are both of them together. It's more to say that she's no more the wife of your father, she's your mom.
Okay, get it. It's Kansipo.
It's a Kansipo. Netza od Yesod, Tiferet de Ima, going down to fulfill Za with Re. C'est le premier kan, ça. C'est le Netza od Yesod de Ima et Tiferet, partie de Tiferet qui descend en bas pour remplir Za. This is the first kan. You get it? Après, il dit Kantipor lefanecha, qui shazivu gaze derer mikre, qui en narak kan min atipor, qui atipor begematria sha'av 376. Ve asha'a em asha'a de anpoi de arir ve abba ve vav remez el apanim atzmam ve atam ki ele a tikun ashvi'i em apanim em apanim ve em klulim kol avav tikunim shekodmim elav veze sod avav she be-tipor. So he said something which we don't need to explain now this morning. Il dit quelque chose qu'on a besoin d'expliquer maintenant. It's like that all this process is related to the work of Arir. I will explain after Tachlet what we do. Je vais expliquer après ce qu'il veut dire concrètement, mais je ne veux pas squeezer le concept. I don't want to squeeze the concept. I will just take some part and in order to understand. So that the Kentipor is actually the action of Arir. All the concept of Kentipor is related to the Tikkun Sheva of the Tikkun Dikna. Hashem, Hashem, En Rachum, Mechanur, Raphaim, Merav, Chesed, Vehemet, Notzer, Chesed, Vehemet. C'est le Vehemet. So now let's see to the Gemara. Donc il dit, tout ce processus-là de Ima, qui va donner de la raison, de la sagesse, de l'intelligence et de la compréhension à Za, ça s'appelle le nid d'oiseau. Parce que quand je fais Kan, ça veut dire nid. Quand je fais KanKan, ça veut dire jar. Donc when I say Kan, it means nest. Nest. I say two nests, it become a jar. Donc il dit quoi? Il dit ça, c'est relié à la dimension de Vehemet. This is related to the dimension of Vehemet. So what's happened? He said that Vehemet contain all the six which were before. Ce Vehemet là, il contient tous les six qu'il y avait avant. What are them? El, Rachum, Vechanun, Erer, Apayim, Chesed. Hashem, Hashem, El, Rachum, Vechanun, Apayim, Ramet, Vehemet, Notzer, Chesed. Là, la file. So he said, all from 1 to 6, we are in the Vehemet. De 1 à 6, ils sont dans le Vehemet. So first thing, why it's so hard to trust, let's say, to make the kosher, to make the jar kosher? Comment c'est si dur pour faire que la jarre soit cachère? Because we need a dimension of Vehemet inside. It's not like the nad, the nadot, the nodot. Why? Why is this different? It's simple. I put the jug on the table. You go, you make your life. What's happening to that jug? You don't know. You never know. Even when you put cameras in your room, you never know. We grow, but you never know what's happened. But when you have your dots with you, you know, the birds are with me all the time. And you can see it even in the airport. Mister, this luggage stood with you every time? Because when it's with you every time, we have not to side from the Emet. C'est quoi la notion qu'on regarde ici dit? La différence qu'il y a entre l'ustensile que tu transportes pour boire et celle que tu laisses à la maison, c'est la dimension de vérité. Parce que l'ustensile que tu vas utiliser pour boire, qui reste à la maison, tu ne sais pas ce qui se passe quand tu n'es pas là-bas. Donc la dimension du émet, elle n'est pas la même. Alors que l'ustensile que tu transportes pour toi, il est toujours avec toi. Even when you sleep, tu le fermes, tu le gardes comme ça.
That's why the servant of the Melech, the servant of the Jew become a Jew at one point. Because he's always with the
Exactly.
exactly what's happening.
Exactly. Donc, qu'est-ce qui se passe derrière cette Gemara? What's behind this Gemara? It says you have two kind of men. Tu as deux types d'hommes. You have the men who are Nodot, you have the men who are jugs. Nodot, we have no problem because the guy is here. For 1 year, he was with me at Shabbat, Chagim, studying with me, praying with me. He was like a Nodot. He was here. Mr. Dayan, convert him. It's a mate. And the other one is a jug. One day he's here. Sometimes 1 week, 2 weeks, don't see the guy. How can you sign? Even if you say, no, it was pitched. Yes, but the truth, I never saw you. For example, Rabbi Ishai needed some certificate. The rabbi said, I need to come to see you. Free time. And after we'll be able to make the certificate. Donc en fait, c'est quoi? Tu as deux types de gens. Tu as ceux qui sont des mobiles, ils vont avec toi, ils sont là tous les jours, tu vois que leur évolution dans la conversion, elle est claire. Ils étaient là à Shabbat, ils sont là à Yom Tov, ils sont là tous les moments. Tu peux certifier parce qu'ils n'ont pas bougé. Mais par contre, ceux qui sont déjà, les gens, tu les vois à Shabbat. Ils sont dans le processus Shabbat. Ah, Shabbat morning, you see the eye is here, the guy who want to convert. But 6 days, what did he do? Qu'est-ce qu'il a fait pendant 6 jours? That's why we always say to people, show off in the Beit Knesset. People need to see you. Every time you can, you have to go. It's not only about conversion. C'est pas seulement par rapport à la conversion. Quand vous dites, même, even the Talmud you're going to trust. If it's not here, it's not here. What's happened with him? You protect, you pray, but you don't know. And if he's here, it's here. S'il est là, il est là. That's why the halachot about the purity of the jug are much more harder.
I think the translation here, jug, it's not a proper jug because no one, a pitch is much more.
But I think this sugya also wants to convey other ideas. Like we have the sugya of KanKan, and that is a jug. So we're not in that now, but there's many layers to this also.
How do we see that with the word, what we just learned now with Rabbi Meir?
Which word?
No, your explanation we just learned now, they have to be all the time. How do we see that with Arech Be'emet, Arech Apayim?
It's like what I've told you. Because the kosher, the way you make kosher the jug and the way you make kosher the nodot, it's not the same.
Okay.
So the question is why?
Yeah.
It's not me saying, it's written here. It said the aspect of the 50% of the name has to be vehement.
Yeah.
So how can you
go through the whole process? Vehement. Well,
I have to be. I have to certify that it's true.
Yeah. And Ken is the net. The Ken, the Ness is vehement. Is
he said that the first Ken,
yeah,
which is related to Ima, really come from the Midah 7 of the 13 Midot of Pit Rachamim and Vehement. Donc il said, après il dit, ואומנם בכל ציפור זה, מכל ציפור זה אינה לוקח רק כאן לבד. וכל זה הוא באימה לפי שירדה לטאטה. So say all this, it's with Ima because she goes down. She's on the case of Abba. So Ken Tzipor, it's Ima. Mention of Ima. Dis quoi? Ça, this is the first can. Second can. ואומנם, מה שקרה לעניין זה בשם קן ציפור, העניין הוא. So what happened about this story קן ציפור? C'est quoi cette histoire de קן ציפור? Voici le sujet. כי אלא עתה היא מקננת על בניה. But now, she's basically covering the chicks. Elle couvre les poussins. Albanim. Ve'even she'u tiferet anikra tzipor. So said, when say ken tzipor, the kan is the letter of Yesod, tiferet of Ima, going down, covering the baby. Who is the baby? Tiferet. What is his name? Tzipor. See. ולכן אתה נקראת כן ציפור. ואם תדקדק בתיקונים, if you check, si tu vérifies bien, לא אמר שם דאמאה יתבע, אלא מקננה על בנים. כי לשון זה הוא לשון זיווג, שמזדווג עם בעלה, בהיותה עם בנים, שהוא הזיווג השני הנזכר בלשון כי יקרה. It's a bit complicated, I will not explain. Talking about Ima being zivug while she is covering the kids. So it's another concept, but we'll understand after. Donc il parle d'un concept que Ima elle est en train de couvrir les enfants, mais là en zivug, ça c'est autre chose. Les oil zot les yadan, les dan. Les varia gam ken a ken shelzas. What is the second can now? C'est quoi le deuxième can? Il dit qu'il y a שאין לזה רק סוד חצי תפארת ונצר עוד יסוד של חצי אריר כנודעה דוגמת האימאה שירדה למטה, לכן אין בו רק כן ריבועו לבד מאנפוי כמבואר באימא, אך יש הפרש כי מאימא נמשך אליה מן אריר עצמו להיותה עדיין דבוקה שם, אבל לזה להיות רחוק מן האריר אין נמשכים לו אלא רק כן, אלא כן ריבו על ידי אוריה דחיה שהוא סוד הבינה עם מבואר אצלי, וזה סוד בפרשת נשוא דף כ"ה מהאי אוריה דחיה התפשטו אנפוי לכאן ריבו almi. So I say basically, and I will conclude and explain to you, Bezrat Hashem, il dit comme ça. Il dit ce qui se passe, la deuxième partie du mot kan ici, the second part of the word kan here, is here to talk about Zah. Zah also receives 130 light from Arir, but it doesn't receive it straight. Receive it from Ima. So meaning that Ima, she brings the KanKan, but one can is for her and one can is for Zah. Ima amène le KanKan. Un can c'est pour elle, et un can c'est pour Zah. So now my question is, why the concept of jug? Pourquoi le concept de la jarre is the perfect combination of two-time truth? You get it? Because if Ima receive can, and it's come from vehement, Zah also have to receive can, it's come from vehement. So why the name used for jug, pourquoi le nom dit pour la jarre, elle est l'incarnation de deux fois émet.
Ah. She have the can, so she passes it on to her son. It's the
Now keep the sugya of the Gemara. The Gemara said, you have the jug, which will be fulfilled with unkosher, not kosher wine. You have the jug being covered with pinched and being fulfilled with, let's say, unkosher wine. Profit or not profit, drinking or not drinking. He said, if I remove the pinch, si j'enlève l'enduit, qu'il y a dans la jarre. Useful or not useful? Est-ce que je peux l'utiliser ou pas l'utiliser? This is the two can. Because both of them, c'est si c'est la jarre comme ça. The can of Ima. What is the can of Ima? It will be this one. No. The inner of external.
Okay. That's the kind of.
Why? Because she can become wine. Remember? He said the jug become wine. It's considered like wine. Il dit, à ce moment-là, la jarre, elle est considérée comme du vin. C'est-à-dire quoi? Le can, le ima, c'est la dimension de l'enduit, ou la dimension de l'intérieur. The can of ima is the level of the pinches, or if it's the inner aspect of the can. And the can of Zarah, le can de Zarah, c'est le can extérieur. KanKan. Maintenant, what's happening? Qu'est-ce qui se passe? I need émet ici, here. J'ai besoin du émet là et du émet là. This is the secret of KanKan. C'est le secret de la jarre. So my last question before we conclude. Why is it so important for me when it comes about the second level of vessels? Pourquoi c'est si important pour moi quand il s'agit de la dimension 2 des ustensiles? Because you will find people like this. Vous trouvez des gens comme ça, qui sont des KanKan. Meaning, they are not every time here. C'est-à-dire que c'est des gens qui ne sont jamais tout le temps là, ou tout le temps avec vous. Not always with you. And it's happened every time because you don't live 24 hours with your student. So with your student, in one day, you have the dimension of Modot and dimension of KanKan. Donc ça veut dire que même dans une relation maritale, une relation, even in your wedding, in your couple, même une relation amicale, une relation rabbin-étudiant, you are not 100% here or 100% here. It's the mix of both. C'est le mélange des deux. When people are with you, quand les gens sont avec toi, people are with you, when your wife is with you, when your son is with you, it's simple. Kashrut is teacher. But for all the moments, pour tous les moments, quand they are not with you, ils ne sont pas avec vous, how do you take it kosher? Tout à même. Les deux.
Les deux l'enduit.
Emet. What is tout à même? You have always to see the emet being incarnate in the actions. If the emet is not here, you have a problem with the kashrut of this job. Tu dois voir l'emet être exprimé dans les actions, dans les paroles, dans les pensées. In the action, in the thought, and the speech. If you don't see the emet, know that something is wrong with the kosher.
I was going to ask a question. Why is the fourth time it's kosher? But you just answered it. Because even though it's 2 times emet, the internal and external, you need machshava dibra maaseh, and that's why the 4th time the wine will be kosher.
So meaning every relationship, toute relation construite sur la dimension du KanKan, meaning it's here, but sometimes it's not under your eyes. You need 2-time emet. How do you see 2-time emet? It's what is visible, what is invisible. How do we express this? Dibur, maaseh, this is the visible, and machshava. If you see sometimes students, they have problem with going in the kavanot. He's a good student, but when you start to talk about Yehudim, kavanot, using that names, kelim, you know that the met is not totally settled when he's in the KanKan mode. If you see it, or you see someone, tikkunim is all for him. You know, that's the emet is not totally. That's how you check the KanKan. Sometimes tu vérifies les KanKan. Pour voir deux fois le emet. The Maasim, the Burim, which are visible, and the Marshavot, which are the kavanot, the intention, and all this stuff. Baruch Adonai Olam. Amen ve Amen.
Tu disais, si quelqu'un n'a pas fait 3 jours chez Lec,
je fais pas confiance.
Est-ce que tu vois la croix, personne?
Toda Rabba Tzadikim, Toda Rabba Abanit Nathalie.
Amen.
Toda Rabba Bezrachel. Toda Rabba Abaniot, Emouna et Cécilia. Ezrat Hashem.
Merci, Rabbi.
Toda Rabba. Je vous dis à ce soir.
Merci.
See you tonight for the women's class. Ezrat Hashem. Ce soir pour les classes des femmes.